George Washington is one of the most famous and respected personalities in world history, best known as the founding father and the first president of the United States of America. He lived during the 18th century, a time of great political change, revolution, and the struggle for independence from colonial rule. George Washington was born on February 22, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia, and he died on December 14, 1799. His life spanned a crucial period in which the American colonies transformed into an independent nation. Through his leadership, integrity, and strong sense of duty, Washington played a decisive role in shaping the political foundations of the United States and influencing democratic ideals around the world. George Washington was born into a wealthy plantation-owning family in colonial Virginia. His father, Augustine Washington, was a successful planter, and his mother, Mary Ball Washington, was known for her strict discipline and strong moral values. George was the eldest son from his father's second marriage. Unlike many European leaders of his time, Washington did not receive a formal university education. His schooling ended around the age of 15, but he was taught basic subjects such as reading, writing, mathematics, and surveying. Despite limited formal education, Washington was eager to learn and developed strong self-discipline, responsibility, and leadership skills from an early age. The early death of his father had a deep impact on him, forcing him to mature quickly and take responsibility for his future as a young man. George Washington began his career as a land surveyor, a profession that allowed him to explore frontier lands and gain practical knowledge of geography and land management. This experience helped him develop resilience, confidence, and familiarity with the American countryside, which later proved useful during military campaigns. Washington also inherited land and enslaved laborers, eventually becoming the owner of Mount Vernon, a large plantation in Virginia. Although he was a slave owner for much of his life, his views on slavery evolved over time, and in his will, he ordered the emancipation of the enslaved people he owned, a decision that reflected his growing moral concerns. George Washington's rise to historical importance began with his military career. In his early 20s, he served as an officer in the Virginia militia during the French and Indian War 1763, a conflict between Britain and France over control of North America. Although he faced early military failures, these experiences taught him valuable lessons about leadership, strategy, and perseverance. His bravery, sense of duty, and ability to command respect helped build his reputation among colonial leaders. By the time tensions between the American colonies and British authorities increased, Washington was already recognized as a capable and reliable leader. Washington's most important historical role was as the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War 1775 to 1783. When the colonies decided to fight for independence from British rule, the Second Continental Congress appointed George Washington to lead their army. This decision was crucial because the colonial forces were poorly trained, lacked supplies, and were facing one of the strongest military powers in the world. Washington faced enormous challenges, including shortages of food, weapons, and clothing, as well as low morale among his troops. Despite these difficulties, he remained committed to the cause of independence and worked tirelessly to keep the army united. Throughout the Revolutionary War, Washington demonstrated remarkable patience, determination, and leadership. He avoided unnecessary battles, choosing instead to preserve his army and fight strategically. Victories such as the surprise attack on British forces at Trenton in 1776 boosted American morale and proved that the Continental Army could stand against British troops. Washington also endured harsh conditions, especially during the winter at Valley Forge, where soldiers suffered from cold, hunger, and disease. His decision to stay with his troops during this difficult time earned him their loyalty and respect. With the help of foreign allies, especially France, Washington ultimately led the American forces to victory, culminating in the British surrender at Yorktown in 1781. After the war, George Washington's actions further strengthened his reputation as a man of honor and selflessness. Instead of seeking power or control, he resigned his military commission and returned to civilian life at Mount Vernon. This act surprised many and set an important example, showing that the military should remain under civilian authority. His decision was admired not only in America but also in Europe, where many leaders viewed him as a modern example of a virtuous leader who valued liberty over personal ambition. George Washington's influence did not end with the Revolutionary War. In 1787, he was chosen to preside over the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, where delegates gathered to create a new system of government for the United States. Although he spoke little during the debates, his presence provided stability and legitimacy to the convention. The result of this meeting was the United States Constitution, a document that established a strong federal government while protecting individual rights. Washington strongly supported the Constitution and helped secure its ratification by the states in 1789. George Washington was unanimously elected as the first president of the United States, serving 2 terms from 1789 to 1797. As president, he faced the challenge of creating a new government from scratch. There were no clear rules or precedents to follow, so many of his decisions set long-lasting standards. Washington worked to establish effective executive departments, supported a stable financial system, and sought to maintain national unity. He appointed capable advisors, including Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, even though they held opposing political views, believing that open debate was essential for good governance. One of Washington's most important contributions as president was his commitment to peace and neutrality. At a time when European powers such as Britain and France were at war, Washington believed that the young United States should avoid foreign conflicts. His farewell address, delivered at the end of his presidency, warned against permanent alliances and political divisions. This document remains one of the most important speeches in American history and continues to be studied for its wisdom and insight into democratic leadership. Despite his many successes, George Washington faced significant challenges and struggles throughout his life. During the Revolutionary War, he dealt with criticism, political rivalries, and the constant fear of defeat. As president, he faced opposition from emerging political parties and had to manage disagreements between states and leaders. He also struggled personally with health problems and the moral conflict of slavery. While he benefited from the institution of slavery, he increasingly recognized its injustice, a realization that complicated his legacy and reflects the broader contradictions of his era. George Washington's actions had a profound influence on the United States and the world. His leadership helped secure American independence and laid the foundation for a democratic republic based on the rule of law. By stepping down after 2 presidential terms, he established the tradition of peaceful transfer of power, reinforcing the idea that leadership should serve the people rather than dominate them. His example inspired future leaders in the United States and beyond, showing that strong leadership can coexist with humility and respect for democratic principles. The legacy of George Washington remains powerful and enduring. He is remembered as the father of his country because of his central role in the nation's founding. His image appears on currency, monuments, and national landmarks, including the capital city. Washington, D.C. schools, institutions, and historical sites continue to honor his name. Historians recognize him not as a perfect man, but as a leader who grew, learned, and acted with a deep sense of responsibility to his country. Today, George Washington is remembered as a symbol of integrity, leadership, and public service. His life teaches students the importance of perseverance, moral courage, and commitment to the common good, while modern perspectives encourage a critical examination of his flaws, especially regarding slavery. His contributions to liberty, governance, and nation-building remain undeniable. George Washington's story continues to inspire people around the world, reminding them that effective leadership is built on character, sacrifice, and dedication to the ideals of freedom and justice.